Well, hey there, everybody. Hope you can hear me all right. Welcome to the 2022 Program of the Year announcement webinar. I am Dan Leaf. I'm the managing editor here at Resource Recycling. We're a trade publication for the municipal recycling market, and yeah, we really love covering all the things going on with local recycling programs. Obviously, a lot of evolution and interesting things happening in the market. And this yearly award program is something that we've put together to honor some really outstanding programs out there across the country. And this is the second year we've done it. Last year's winners were Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Olympia, Washington. So a shout out to them one more time, our reigning champions, as it were. And but we're gonna be awarding two more cities here today with our 2022 winners. And here to kind of help me co-host, we have Cecilia Shutters from the Recycling Partnership organization that I'm sure many of you know well, and that really does a lot to help heighten municipal recycling and really connect this marketplace as a whole. So Cecilia, welcome. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to honor those that are being recognized today for these great recycling programs.
Great. And Cecilia, you're located in a town in Connecticut. So
That's right.
East Coast presence. Great.
That's right. I'm just outside of New Haven, Connecticut.
Cool. I-95 corridor. Lovely area. And I'm out in Portland, Oregon. So we got the Northwest and the Northeast, and then we'll see what programs we have also represented here today. But to get things going, I wanted to honor our sponsor for the 2022 Program of the Year Awards. That's Retrack Connect, and they do a lot with data tracking, data management, and I'm going to bring on Chris Ronson, who is a Retrack Connect representative, and he's going to say a few words and go ahead and he's going to introduce our first award winner. So Chris, are you there? It looks like you're coming on through the power of the internet. There he is, Chris Ronson, ladies and gentlemen, who hails from Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's good to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks, Dan. And good morning or afternoon, all, depending on your coordinates. My name is Chris Ronson. Dan already introduced me. I'm from Emerge Knowledge Design. You likely know me as Retrack, as I work with local governments and states to help them implement our proven web-based software that material management professionals trust to efficiently collect, manage, and measure their waste and recycling data. So yeah, just a pleasure to be here. We've worked very closely with Resource Recycling over the years, many years. You possibly, if you've been to the Resource Recycling Conference in the past, you've been to a party track. Unfortunately, we won't be there this year, but I would have run into you at Party Track or at the Measurement Matters sessions that also are held at Resource Recycling Conference. So really pleased to get to participate in this virtual event with such inspiring communities that really are doing fantastic programs all throughout the year and ongoing through some tough times and through good times. So usually at the conference, we save an exciting announcement, but since we won't be there in person, got a bit of a teaser for you today. We're currently working on developing a powerful new web service to go alongside of Retrack Connect that's going to provide government agencies with instant access to a comprehensive library of material management analytics. So if you're interested in signing up for the waitlist, we'll drop a chat or a link in the chat later on in the presentation. But without further ado, I am here today to introduce the Small City Program of the Year category. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk about this. The award is presented to the top community program that has fewer than 150,000 residents. And, while these communities often fly under the radar and the wider industry discussions, the innovation that's happening at this smaller scale is inspiring and, as we all know, extremely important. It's those boots on the ground, these grassroots programs that are so important to increasing diversion and making sure that the behavior change is happening. The communities also face unique challenges in terms of rural landscapes, and they oftentimes face an uphill battle when trying to reach economies of scale. And ultimately, the number of quality programs that submitted applications this year was a true testament to the dedication of these program managers and the residents. So really thank you all those that submitted their applications. And the 3 finalists in the category are Fayetteville, Arkansas, Marquette County, Michigan, and San Marcos, Texas. So congratulations to all 3 finalists. Fantastic programs that you continue to run on a daily basis. And ultimately, the decision was that the winner of the Small City Program of the Year is Fayetteville, Arkansas. So this is where all the clapping and the cheering and fireworks go off.
I can hear it, Chris, just
Oh,
from
good.
afar. I can feel it through, through the
Excellent.
tubes here.
I was
so.
going to set it up behind the banner stand, but it didn't come together at the right time. So, but we do have the 2 Fayetteville representatives joining us today. We've got Taylor Gladwin and Heather Elsie. So welcome to you both. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're honored to be here. This is very awesome. So thank you to everybody. And yeah, we're happy to be here and talk about our programs with you guys.
Excellent. We're going to let you do that. I'm going to jump off here and let you take the stage all to yourselves.
So I'm Taylor Gladwin. I am an environmental educator here in the city of Fayetteville Recycling and Trash Division.
And my name is Heather Elsie, and I'm an environmental educator as well. And yeah, so Fayetteville, our population, we're just under actually 87,000. And we have a lot of really awesome programs that we're super excited to be able to offer our residents to help with their waste diversion, our city's waste diversion goals. And so it's actually a really big goal of ours. We're trying to reach 40% waste diversion by 2027. And we have curbside and commercial recycling. We have apartment programs. We also have a food waste program for both residential and commercial hazardous waste programs, and a really robust education program that we're really just lucky and happy to be a part of.
Yeah, go on.
Yes, so as environmental educators, it's Heather and my job to go out and educate residents and businesses, schools and community groups, folks of all ages about our programs and the environmental benefits, as well as the financial benefits that they can experience by reducing waste and diverting that waste from the landfill. Heather and I are at the farmers market a couple of times during the month. We go out and we do programs at our Fayetteville Public Library. We will do presentations in apartments for apartment residents, for employees at businesses who are recycling and composting their food waste. So no education opportunity is too small or too big for us. And education is, of course, a huge part of success in our programs and making sure that folks feel comfortable in knowing what they're doing and can recycle and compost correctly. We do have some really robust recycling programs for our apartments here in Fayetteville, both small and large apartments. Heather does a really great job at setting those programs out. For our small apartment program, we actually give them multiple of our 18-gallon green bins, a couple for each of our material streams. And then we work with residents in the apartment and staff as well to make sure that those bins are strategically placed and that they're also put out on collection day. And for our large apartments, we either do something similar to that, or we give them what we call a battleship recycling container that has a compartment for each of the materials that we collect. And those are also decked out in education that's color-coded and interactive and just supposed to make it really easy. We do have a...
Excuse me. I just want to say that the previous slide here, I think, represents that recovery infrastructure that you have at apartments. So.
Yeah, that's one of our large battleships.
Yeah, very colorful.
Cool. Great. Go on.
And at our recycling drop-offs and at the curb and here in our MRF, we have folks that are working really hard to keep the contamination really low, which is why we're able to have such a low contamination rate. We have hard workers at every step of our process here, and they're pulling out contamination if it's in there. And so that's a really great, second part to our education is our hardworking crew here. And we also have a also robust food waste recycling program here in the city. Our residential food waste program is a drop-off program, and it started in 2020 as an extension of our commercial food waste program, which is a pickup program, and that started in 2016. So we are actually the only city-ran food waste program in the state that collects residential food waste. And we don't want to be. We definitely don't want to be the only ones, but we're happy to have the resources to where we can offer that to folks in Fayetteville who can't compost. A lot of people actually live in apartments in Fayetteville. So this is a food waste drop-off program that makes it easy for apartment dwellers to be able to compost their food waste.
Great. Well, again, thanks to you both, and congratulations to Fayetteville. Certainly, yeah, so many communities out there looking for solutions on food waste and organics as a whole, and the fact that you guys are kind of charting new territory there in that area in Arkansas. It's really, really exciting. So happy to have you here. We're gonna have Taylor and Heather stay on, and once we announce the large city winner, we're going to do a group Q&A just talking about program excellence and some of the learnings that these communities have gone through in recent years. And so as you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A portion of the tab down at the bottom. It looks like we already have a couple coming through. So with that, again, huge congrats to Fayetteville. We're so happy to be able to honor you here today. And one thing I didn't note earlier is that each city winner, thanks to the support from Retract Connect, we're going to be able to bring a representative from each city down to the Resource Recycling Conference, which happens in just a couple of weeks in Austin, Texas. And we're going to be able to honor them in person as well as this webinar. So again, congratulations, Fayetteville. And
Thank you.
Sit tight. We'll be back with you in a second. And with that, Cecilia, if you want to come back on and we can talk big city winners. Very exciting.
Excellent. Congratulations, Fayetteville. I am Cecilia Shutters. I'm the Managing Director of ESG and Circularity Financing for the Recycling Partnership. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, the Recycling Partnership is a nonprofit organization that works with communities, companies, and governments to transform the recycling system. We have worked on the ground with thousands of communities to transform underperforming recycling programs and to tackle circular economy challenges. And if we go to the next slide, here are some of our freshest stats from our recent impact report. Since 2014, we've diverted 770 million pounds of new recyclables from landfill, saved 968 million gallons of water, avoided over 670,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases, and driven significant reductions in targeted contamination rates. And today, it is my incredible pleasure to be introducing the large city category. Just as some background, the large city category is open to community programs that serve more than 150,000 residents. These bigger communities are really key to municipal recycling success overall. Their residents generate a lot of material, and big cities also have the power to help shape how industry approaches collection, contamination, and MRF contracting. And finally, these big city programs are often the lens through which recycling is portrayed in the media, as many of us see in the headlines. So we've received a number of outstanding applications for the big city category. I want to recognize the 3 finalists in the category: Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., and Tacoma, Washington. Congratulations to all of the finalists. And now to announce the winner.
Who's it gonna be?
Washington, D.C. Congratulations. So I'm going to now introduce Blake Adams, manager of the Office of Waste Diversion for Washington, D.C.'s Department of Public Works. So he can walk us through how the program works and tell us a little bit more about it. So welcome, Blake, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, Dan. It's a big thanks to Resource Recycling, Retract, our sponsor, the Recycling Partnership as a whole. And it's an honor and privilege to receive this award on behalf of our great city, on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of everyone that lives here. So really just want to send a big appreciation for everybody for recognizing us. My name is Blake Adams. I'm the manager of the Office of Waste Diversion here. You can sort of think of us as the Zero Waste DC team. We're responsible for leading our city's ambitious goals on zero waste, which is defined as 80% waste diversion away from landfill and incineration by 2032. So obviously with the population the size of 700,000+ residents, we've got a tall task, a large waste stream to disrupt. But we've also made some incredible strides recently, again, with the help of our great partner, the TRP, the Recycling Partnership, to really advance our recycling system from where it was about 5 years ago to where it is today. So as an office and a zero waste team, of course, we're housed within the DC Department of Public Works. So as an agency, we're responsible for providing citywide services from trash and waste collection to parking enforcement to snow removal. So waste is an important part of what we do, but not just the only thing. And as an office, the Office of Waste Diversion, we're responsible for developing those policies, programs, and the education and outreach component to help us achieve zero waste. So in 2021, with the help of TRP, we launched our Feet on the Street initiative, targeting households at the curb by leaving direct cart messaging on over 25,000 households, recycling containers. We also targeted the entire single-family residential sector with a citywide campaign to do not bag recyclables. And together, these initiatives were incredibly successful, and we were able to decrease plastic contamination. So specifically plastic bags, plastic film, down from 33% in 2017 to what we consider a pretty high standard of 11% in 2021. So again, I would just want to thank everybody who contributed, and obviously the Recycling Partnership was a huge help with their constant guidance, obviously the funding to do the Feet on the Street, and also our dedicated staff who worked through a pandemic in the middle of the first half of 2021 to put all this on. So as you see here, this is a photo of one of our temporary workers putting one of our do not bag recycling cart, I don't know if you can see that, cart tags. We went with a theme of yellow and red, sort of inspired by my my love for soccer, with the sort of the caution, and the red meaning you know, get out of here. We're going to reject your recycling material. And so really what we did in 2021 was a renewed focus on recycling in general, cleaning up the stream. But we also launched a multifamily toolkit specifically for property owners, property manager groups, custodial staff, and residents, with a suite of information and resources to help them improve their waste diversion efforts in their at their properties. So the Feet on the Street initiative is targeted for single family homes. Again, with the help of TRP, we were able to develop a multifamily toolkit. 2/3 of all the residents that live in DC live in multifamily. And this was our first major opportunity to go and conduct outreach to that community. And really proud of that effort. And lastly, one of the things that we were able to do to innovate with the feet on the street was, so in 2021, it was not the first year that we did this. We've actually done this 3 years now. And so what we were able to do in 2021 was develop a mobile software application in-house that allowed us to collect data that was geolocated and could give us a much granular sense of what's going on household to household. So what we were using before was working, but in DC, we have very tight alleyways. And when you're working in a tight alleyway, the signal and the reliability of certain software programs we were using to collect data was not reliable. There was interference. The data was being diluted and losing its value. And we were able to innovate pretty quickly and to work with some in-house providers to develop something in a matter of months. And then we implemented it to great success. So I think we tried to have sort of an adaptive and nimble approach to doing something like this while the city and the world was still in the pandemic, and I'm really proud of the efforts across the team.
So, well, thanks so much, Blake. Obviously, so many things developing there with your program, and also, a great example for those that say that nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. Hey, with recycling it does. So there you go. With that, yeah, we're going to open it up and just have a dialogue here. We have about a half hour to ask Taylor and Blake and Heather about their respective programs. And again, see some questions coming in with the Q&A at the bottom there. We'll be integrating those as we're able to. So continue to go ahead and ask those questions. Obviously, a lot to get into with a couple of very different types of cities that are doing some really innovative operations. So Cecilia, what questions do you have? Let's get it going.
Great, awesome. So I think, and I saw this in the Q&A, I think folks on the call are curious about what each of your programs have done as far as contamination is concerned. You've both really put a lot of focus on contamination, have seen really good results. What were the factors that drove you to make contamination an issue that you focused on, and how have you been able to fund that work?
Well, I'll jump in. Here in Fayetteville, we don't have a sorting MRF. So we do curbside recycling, and every household is given 2 18-gallon bins, and our drivers are our sorters. So we have trucks that have compartments on them, and at the curb, every single material is, grabbed, touched, every single one, is this recyclable by our drivers? So they're the ones really doing the sorting and the hands-on work right there curbside. Now, on our apartment programs, this is where it gets a lot trickier, and why we have really invested a lot of money into those really awesome battleships that you saw. All of the education and the sorting is right there on the bin. And so we really work with the apartment managers to get out communication through social media that tells residents not only that recycling is available, but the importance of sorting their recyclables. We also have a few programs here that they have valet trash service at the apartments, and they go around door to door and collecting the trash and the recyclables, and then they bring it to our battleships and sort it there on site. But once it's here at our MRF, it is dumped directly onto the bale in some cases, especially with paper and cardboard. Our plastics go into large containers, but the goal is it's already recycled before, or it's already sorted before it gets here to our facility. Now, we do have guys and gals out in our MRF that as it's going into the baler, they are constantly keeping an eye on it and pulling out that contamination as much as possible.
And contamination, we all know in this industry is certainly a reality. It's a massive challenge, whether you're running a curbside program or you're setting up a recycling bin in a park. So that's definitely something that always has to be addressed and looked out for. Sometimes those carts are monitored, but we focus on, like Heather was saying, source separation too. So we try to educate our residents as to what can go in the bin and whatever can't be recycled in our community that does go in the bin, it stays in the bin. And so that's what our recyclers do. Like she was saying, our MRF crew will take things out before it gets baled. And so that's really part of the groundwork that our team does, that just built right into the job description. Recycling attendants at our drop-off centers, they'll crawl into our recycling containers and pull out clamshells of the plastic bottle bells, for example. It's a full-time job for sure, but it's just a part of what we all do here.
Yeah, it's really actually pretty wild. I used to live in what you consider a large city, and thinking about like how things are probably handled in DC, and here it's really boots on the ground. Our parks program that Taylor mentioned, we bring those bags back here, our parks attendants, and that is mixed. And then we break those bags open, pour them out into our 18-gallon green bins and hand sort it onto our trucks that then go and dump it into our already sorted material streams. So yeah, it's a really unique program, and we're just super proud of everybody that it takes to make it happen.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Certainly in your 2% contamination rate, I mean, that is an incredible number. And it's clear all of the hands that literally go into making that a reality.
For sure.
Yeah, Blake, so you talk contamination.
Yeah, so from Washington, D.C.'s perspective, there was a really strong business incentive for the city to make contamination a focus. Obviously, we don't own or house a MRF inside the city limits. And so the MRF that the city does contract with obviously holds us accountable for when our recycling material is contaminated. And so, we were starting to see contamination and the costs start to build, and we really wanted to go after it. So what we decided to do was to hit it on 3 different levels. One at the curb with our direct cart messaging. The second during the point of the time of collection, with our collection crews being able to leave contaminated carts at the curb for residents to rectify the issue. And then we put in place 6 full-time employees at our solid waste transfer station in the city to screen on the very back end of what we were collecting. And so what we were able to do through all those 3 processes working together was to immediately reduce the amount of contaminated recyclables that we were sending out to our MRF. We were fortunate to have the recycling partnership as a partner to help fund those efforts. We did fund some things in-house, and obviously our office's budget supported those efforts. But the program itself was designed to pay for itself. So by spending, $1, reducing contamination here, down the line, we save $1, and it's meant to be cost neutral. And the 6 FTEs that are in place at our transfer station, whenever they identify commercial recycling that's contaminated, we levy a fine on the commercial hauler, and those fines directly fund the 6 FTEs. So the program is designed to be self-fulfilling and cost neutral.
Great. And then I just wanted to bring in actually a couple questions from the Q&A here, just to help us get a ground floor understanding of the programs. First, do you both use city crews to collect material, or do you do contracted hauling? Fayetteville, I think you had mentioned that, but just to reiterate.
Yeah, we have it's all city, all of us.
Great. And Blake?
So the Department of Public Works provides collection, recycling and trash collection, as well as other services to single-family residential homes with 3 or fewer units. So multifamily apartment buildings are, above sort of that triplex, duplex level, services are provided by the commercial sector.
And then briefly, how are each of your programs kind of funded from a foundational level? Is it an item on a tax bill for each individual resident, or is there what does that look like for trash and recycling funding? Blake, we should start with you.
Yeah, so here in DC, the Department of Public Works solid waste, collection budget is funded through the general fund. So out of the general taxes that residents pay into each year, there is no specific line item for trash and waste. It's something we may change very soon.
And Taylor and Heather, how is funding happening at Fayetteville?
Yeah, so we have a pay-as-you-throw program that incentivizes residents to actually recycle more, and you can, but you do pay for your trash cart size, and that does go into our program. Also, any haulers and stuff, so they're paying our scale fees, but those go into our general recycling and trash budget. But then we also have an education budget that Taylor and I are allocated each year that will go directly into educating the public. That includes, through any stickers or going out and create the big apartment bins that you all saw, our battleships, all of that. And now we receive $4 per household that's directly set aside for education purposes.
And for anybody who maybe is joining us a little bit late here, we have our 2022 Resource Recycling Program of the Year winners, Fayetteville, Arkansas, with Taylor Gladwin and Heather Elsie representing, and then Blake Adams from Washington, D.C., which is our large city winner. And then wanted to jump into, an unavoidable topic from the last few years, the pandemic, and that, has continued to unfold across the business landscape and across the waste and recycling landscape in different ways. And I was wondering if you could just talk about kind of what the biggest impacts from, COVID-19 have been for your programs. I'm sure there have been many. Fayetteville, what does that look like for you?
Yes, we were certainly affected by the pandemic, as was everyone and everything. So when the pandemic started in 2020, we decided to shut down our curbside recycling, which was a decision we did not take lightly. It hurt all of us a little bit inside, but considering the circumstances, it was just what we decided to do for the overall greater good. But instead of curbside recycling, what we did to continue collecting recyclables was we set up 4 or 5 recycling drop-offs throughout the city, in addition to the 2 that we already have. And we made those drop-offs 24/7, available 24/7, and we made our 2 long-standing drop-offs available 24/7 as well, and they still are now available 24/7. Originally, they had open and close hours, but now they're always open. So even though we stopped curbside recycling, we set up additional drop-offs throughout the city, and we were actually able to collect 80% of what we had recycled the year before. And so 80% still, we were pretty proud of that considering we were in a pandemic. We also actually started our residential food waste program in 2020, at the very beginning of 2020. And our internet waves here in Fayetteville were consumed by the pandemic and pandemic news and ways to stay safe and things like that. So we couldn't do a whole lot of promoting of our food waste program at the beginning of 2020. So that was put on hold for a little bit, even though it was available at our recycling centers. Folks could bring their food waste and drop it off, and then we would pick it up. But we just really couldn't advertise that very well until closer to the end of 2020. So that program announcement kind of got a slow start, but we have been able to collect a lot of food waste since then. So.
Great. Blake, how about DC?
Yeah, so the biggest, I think, disruption was during the pandemic, especially during early 2020 and most of 2021, we saw our single family household recycling and trash generation increase by about 8 to 12%. So essentially with that stay-at-home order and that directive, there was a shift of waste generation from, the public space, the commercial space, to the residential. And, that's a significant increase in material on top of the pressures of the pandemic adding to our staff and our workforce and our ability to provide city services. I'm really proud of the fact that as an agency, we were able to maintain city services and we never ceased or scaled down our trash and recycling collection. We're I think, fortunate that we did not have major issues, but I think there was some strong perseverance there. And I want to give a lot of credit to our agency and our frontline staff for persevering through that time. And our Feet on the Street initiative also had some serious staffing challenges as well. I don't know how many times Cecilia and I got on the phone together to talk about, what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day with our staff. But we were able to utilize some creative thinking. And I think with the implementation of the new technology that we talked about a little bit before, we were able to still achieve our goals.
Wonderful. Well, Cecilia, I'll let you take it away with the next question here.
Great, thanks. And totally agree. I think, for many cities, the folks doing the collection work and really continuing to show up every day in the middle of so much uncertainty is something that we should be, thinking and keeping top of mind as we continue to work our way out of the pandemic and recognize what kinds of sacrifice and perseverance, as you said, we saw from them. So this is another question for DC. What do you think, Blake, was your biggest surprise when you started Feet on the Street? And then how are you using what was learned from the process to move things forward? Or what's the future of DC towards zero waste look like?
Yeah, so the biggest surprise, I think, was how positive the community's response was to our campaign and our message to do not bag recyclables. And also how open our community was to the tougher standards and enforcement that we piloted with actually rejecting material at the curb, contaminated material at the curb. So not only was our Do Not Bag campaign a hit, but the piloting of that rejection was, originally our thought was this was going to be sort of met with opposition, that it's during the pandemic, folks are really pressured and stuck at home. And do we really, as a city, want to take this opportunity to enforce upon a tougher standard or stricter requirements? And not only was it accepted, we heard a lot from folks saying, we really liked seeing our neighbors being held to the same standard that, we were doing at home. And there was sort of a community driven sort of competition of like having the cleanest recycling. And it was really, really neat to see. So yeah, it was just, I think everything was received very positively, which was a concern of ours, just given the time that we launched our program. But I think all this means that DC is really hungry for more recycling outreach and education and enforcement to ensure that recycling is a success moving forward. Right now we're developing our zero waste DC plan, sort of the visionary framework for how we as a city can achieve zero waste. And we're starting to put the building blocks together, including more enforcement at the curb, more investment in education and outreach. So I think what we did in 2021 is just we're taking a kind of a pause to breathe, and we'll get back at it next year.
I wanted to move the conversation into the world of plastics. That's something that has really been so top of mind within recycling as a whole. And we're here about brand owner goals, obviously this material stream continuing to evolve, seeing more types of plastic applications. So there's pressure on the contamination side, which can often be tied to plastics, but also, I think some pressures as well as opportunities in when it comes to collecting more, bringing it into the manufacturing pipeline. And so, yeah, I'm curious what your two programs, first of all, what plastics do you collect, and how are you approaching that moving forward? What are you hearing from your residents about their wants and needs on plastic material and recycling? And yeah, Heather and Taylor from Fayetteville, I'd love to start with you on this one.
Cool. Yeah. So right now, the city of Fayetteville, we accept two types of plastic, our number ones and number twos, and they have to be a bottle. We're very strict on that in our program, and it's a big part of our education. So we don't take any types of containers, clamshells, anything at all. It has to be a bottle, and it has to be a number one or a number two. Also, our location, we are constantly making sure that we have viable end markets for our products. We never ship anything. We've always, since the onset of our program, we've only sold our recyclables domestically, and we try to keep them as close to home as possible. There has been talk here in Northwest Arkansas. We have some really big heavy hitters in the retail market, and they have been putting together a lot of conversation around what that looks like in the future. And hopefully, actually, the goal is to move end markets here to Northwest Arkansas. So I think that's the goal right now, is trying to bring new end markets here closer to home. And in the meantime, sticking to just your bottles, number ones and number twos.
Yes, and we do hear a lot from residents, why aren't you accepting more? We actually have a transparency page on our website that we're really proud of just for having one, because it tells you where our materials go and what they get turned into. So everything in Fayetteville that we collect for recycling, we do recycle. And as Heather was saying, we do so domestically. And we'll get people to come up to us, and ask, well, where can I take my clamshell or my yogurt tub? And just a conversation really of, well, right now, there isn't a place where you can take that. And then we'll follow up that with, but you can try to switch, to getting your berries at the farmer's market, where they provide their berries in a cardboard container instead of a clamshell packaging. We give away a lot of reuse items as giveaways at events we go to: bamboo silverware, coffee mugs, water bottles, grocery bags. So we promote that reuse idea and bringing your own, that mindset, instead of relying on single-use plastic items and things like that. And if, even if a facility were to open regionally that said, we're accepting, all these different kinds of plastics, we would definitely wait to see how that went before we started educating our residents on, we accept these new things now, for that facility to fall through or something like that. So we definitely, don't want to create confusion or anything. But in our spare time, we do enjoy looking into extended producer responsibility news and policies. Very much looking forward to those sessions at the Resource Recycling Conference in a couple of weeks. And to address those harder to recycle plastics, we would love to see some sort of national regulation or national protocol for that. So until the end markets are strong and the technology is there, we're going to stick to what we know we can recycle.
Yeah, and kind of like what Taylor was, touching on with the reduce portion of it. I think that's really the ultimate goal here in Fayetteville, is to educate residents on, it's not why can't we recycle it, it's why are we making it and using it in the first place. So, trying to teach people to, how you can buy in bulk and taking your containers with you and reusing them. We have a lot of, local grocery stores here where you can buy in bulk. You can also take containers and they'll tear weight those out. And so teaching people how to shop with a waste reduction mindset and not a, why can't I recycle this?
Great. Yeah, that's such an important conversation. Yeah, and it's very cool, to hear your city really engaging on it, thinking about things holistically. Congrats on that. Blake, what is the plastic situation in Washington, D.C. residential program?
So currently we do accept quite a wide range of plastics. So we're talking, for the industry folks on the call, the resin types, PET, HT, BE, LD, PE, PP, and PS. And for the lay folks on the call, that's, plastic bottles, beverage containers, food and household plastic bottles and jars, tubs and lids, produce, deli, and bakery containers, just to name a few. So we do currently accept quite a wide range of plastics right now, but we are currently developing our long-term strategy around plastics, which will be unveiled in our zero waste plan next spring. And we're really, really excited about that work. So we are paying attention, just like our sister city or sister community, Fayetteville, about, the approach to plastic, whether it's EPR, whether it's other policies or incentives. And we're starting to put the pieces together right now.
And if there are any policymakers out there on the call, definitely hope you're listening and understanding, the value that local communities have to this conversation, because they're the ones interacting with residents and picking up material. So, Cecilia, I'll kick it back over to you.
Great, thanks. If we, the next question is really zooming out to hear what each of you think about how recycling fits in the wider context of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, whether you all think of those terms or convert your outcomes into those terms. Just curious if you could share with the group your thoughts. Let's start again with Fayetteville.
Absolutely. We have a belief here in our division that everything is connected. And so when we recycle, we're able to conserve Earth's natural resources. And that's something that Heather and I, tell all the time to everybody that we speak with. So when you're, using paper that you already have at your fingertips, you're able to not go into the forest and cut down trees for more paper and keep those trees in place, as wildlife habitat, but also as carbon dioxide absorbers, if you will. And so that's, just one huge way that we can already use what we have at our fingertips to stop emitting as many greenhouse gases as we are. But a really, important thing about this question, I think, is also about composting food waste, letting the earth recycle for us. When we throw food away into the landfill, it produces methane, a potent greenhouse gas, more potent than carbon dioxide at warming our planet. But because methane doesn't stay in the atmosphere as long, when we're able to take food waste out of the landfill and turn it into compost instead and not emit those methane emissions into the atmosphere, we're able to see a big impact very quickly. And so that's a huge way that recycling and climate change are connected, is just by keeping things out of the landfill that are organic, may it be food waste or yard waste. It's actually illegal to throw away yard waste here in Arkansas. So we have a lot of yard waste composting happening in the state. And so I feel like the opportunity for food waste composting is very strong here in Arkansas, since we already have so many yard waste compost facilities, a hop, skip, and a jump over, a couple other pieces of machinery, different permit, and then hopefully we'll see more people composting food waste as well. But keeping those things out of the waste stream, not emitting so much methane from our landfills, is a massive way that we can help reduce climate change.
That's great. And Blake, how do you all think about it?
Yeah, I think I can't echo enough Fayetteville's perspective. I think DC views recycling, and moreover, the pursuit of zero waste is absolutely critical to achieving our city's decarbonization goals. So DC has a carbon-free DC goal by 2050 to eliminate carbon emissions entirely across all sectors. And it's not just about, for waste, it's not just about the emissions resulting from, the full life cycle of materials, from resource extraction to commoditization, but also the emissions on the back end from disposal to landfills, and even the transportation across the city and from within our city to landfills and processing locations in our surrounding counties and surrounding areas. So when we think about what the future recycling program looks like, it's very much resilient, electrified, clean, and efficient. And we're really excited to work on our planning cycle right now to really start to envision what that looks like.
Great. And just to follow up on something from the plastics conversation, Blake, your mention of collecting polystyrene, I think, caught the attention of a few people out there. Is that, could you talk a little bit more about that? Is that expanded polystyrene or rigid PS, and kind of what are your markets for that look like? Or just tell us more about DC and PS.
Yeah, it's rigid PS, and I think DC locally we have some strict standards and bans on the expanded side, and we're, as I mentioned, we're really focused right now on tackling the plastic waste issue, and we're doing a lot of research and development into what our future policies look like. So I would say that our sort of status quo is not very indicative of where we're going. It's sort of a product of where we have been, and we're really excited about what we're about to do.
Well, we are getting here near the end of the hour, so I thought we'd end with a final question for you both, and that's just about keeping residents and your local elected officials and your community as a whole, engaged on recycling and excited about it. It is something that can sometimes fall into the background a little bit, or when something goes wrong, that's when all of the conversation starts about a program. So, really the idea of Program of the Years is to highlight what is really successful in local programs and how they're evolving and meeting challenges. And so I'm just curious how you both with really forward-thinking programs are doing that locally with your own residents and contacts. Blake, let's start with you.
Yeah, so we need to continue to invest heavily in education and outreach locally. And the reason is we need to also instill greater confidence in the recycling process. So ironically, here we are, Program of the Year. Locally, if you talk to 9 out of 10 residents, folks will say they don't trust recycling. They think it's not happening. They know that their neighbors aren't doing it, so why should they? And that this is a big obstacle that we face of increasing the trust and transparency and building confidence in the program. So we need to do more on education and outreach. We need to encourage others to all do the same thing. And when we work together, we win together, and that's kind of the way we see that. But we also really need to increase recycling access. There are lots of things, hard to recycle items, difficult bulky materials that our residents are desperately trying to get to find ways to bring to us so that we can recycle, reuse, or reduce those items. And so again, our big focus right now is building an equitable model where material recovery is everywhere and everybody has access to it, whether they live in an affluent part of the city or an area that has hardships. And we're really, really excited about building this zero waste future.
How do you keep the enthusiasm going, Fayetteville?
Yeah, so we have a lot of enthusiasm around here with our residents. They actually push us. They'll come up and they're like, oh, great. So you're doing these things. Why aren't you doing these things? And so it's really awesome to have their support. We have an amazing city council, a mayor that's constantly just asking us, what do you need from us? And that's, we have about 50% resident participation in our programs. And so it's just, how do we engage with that other 50%? As a lot of you all know, we have the University of Arkansas here in Fayetteville. And Taylor and I do a lot of work on campus and trying to engage students. And we think that the more that we can really engage with the students and through the university and getting them involved as well. And then also we've got big heavy hitters in the more retail industry as well. And so just help, trying, to start that conversation, at the grocery store. And so that when they're going home, they're already with that mindset of, what am I buying and where is it going, And so we have a lot of groups here in town, the Northwest Arkansas Council, here in the city of Fayetteville. We also try to look at Northwest Arkansas. So the city of Fayetteville, yeah, we have about 87,000 residents, but in Northwest Arkansas, we have about 500,000. So we're just really trying to expand that program so that when they're visiting for a football game or they're just coming into town for a concert or whatever that looks like, we're trying to use those opportunities and big events that we host to really engage people more.
And it's also for us when we're talking to people about meeting them where they are. Why is this important to you? Does it help your business meet their sustainability goals? Does it make a cleaner planet for your grandchildren and keep the streams clean so you can fish and live a healthy life? So meeting people where they are, telling that story that resonates with them, and also making it easy for people too. We want to make it as accessible as possible. Like Blake was saying, we've given out dollies to help our elderly residents who can't take their bins to the curb. And, of course, just trying to educate folks as much as possible to make it easy and accessible.
Great. Well, that's a wonderful note for us to end on. I want to go ahead and just, excuse me, so smooth on tech the whole time. And now here we are at the end. I would like to go ahead and honor our sponsor, Retract Connect, one last time.
Dan, you're on mute. We missed that. What'd you say?
Sorry, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Here we go. Yeah, ending with a real bang here on Program of the Year. Yeah, I just wanted to honor our sponsor, Retract Connect, one more time. Really so helpful to have Retract here and part of the conversation. And also invite everybody to the Resource Recycling Conference, which is happening just in a couple of weeks down in Austin, Texas. And we're so excited about that. And with that, again, congratulations to Fayetteville, Arkansas, Taylor Gladwin and Heather Elsie. Thank you for being here with us. And Blake Adams of Washington, D.C. Congratulations to you as well. And then to Cecilia Shutters of the Recycling Partnership. Really happy to have you. Thank you for your insight and your co-hosting. So with that, we really hope to see you all in Austin for the Resource Recycling Conference. And continue the good work, everybody, and look for the 2023 Program of the Year application process at the start of next year. We're excited to keep this going. So thanks, everybody. Be well and keep recycling.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely.
See you in Austin.